The moment security guards took Keanu Reeves off Flight 207, the airline thought they had just removed a difficult passenger. But they didn't know the truth. They had just taken off the man who helped control the flight systems and the $4 billion 0-cents pipmicon that kept their planes flying. Before we begin, leave a comment and tell us where in the world you are watching from. We love to see how far these stories travel. The floor in Terminal B was shiny under the bright lights. It had just been cleaned and didn't care about anything. Keanu Reeves walked quietly to the gate. He wore a gray hoodie, a soft flannel shirt, dark jeans, and old leather boots. He carried a duffel bag on one shoulder. He didn't have an assistant, a bodyguard, or any fans following him. He just walked like a regular person. He showed his boarding pass. It said Seat 1C, First Class. No one really noticed him. The gate worker scanned his ticket without even looking up much. She pointed to the jet bridge. Keanu nodded kindly, walked onto the plane, and stepped into a new world full of soft white leather seats and glasses of cold champagne. He looked for row 1. That was his seat. In seat 1A, right beside his, was a small black boy, maybe around 9 years old. The boy wore a red hoodie and khaki pants. He held a backpack close to his chest like it was his safety blanket. His name tag said Micah Jones, unaccompanied minor. "Hey there," Keanu said gently while putting away his bag. "You okay?" Micah nodded, but he looked nervous. "Yeah, just waiting. They said someone would sit with me." Keanu smiled and sat down in 1C. "Looks like that someone is me." Everything was quiet, until someone spoke sharply. "Excuse me. Excuse me." A woman was standing in the aisle. She looked about 50 years old, had stiff blonde hair, wore a fancy white scarf, and had a shiny pearl necklace. Her name was Eleanor Blackwell. Her husband, Thomas, was behind her. He looked annoyed. Eleanor looked at Keanu. Then she looked at Micah. Then back at Keanu. She frowned. There must be some mistake. This is first class. Keanu looked up and stayed calm. "Yes, ma'am, it is." Eleanor blinked, clearly not happy that he wasn't apologizing. Her husband whispered, "Is he with a boy?" Eleanor sniffed. "Is that even allowed?" A flight attendant came over. His name tag said Mark. He wore tight pants and had a practiced smile. "Is everything okay here?" he asked. Eleanor lowered her voice, trying to sound polite. "This man," she pointed, "is sitting next to a child flying alone. It just doesn't seem right." Mark turned to Keanu. "Sir, can I please see your boarding pass again?" "Just a formality." Keanu looked him in the eye. "Of course." He pulled out his ticket from his jacket and gave it to Mark. Mark scanned it, then blinked. "Seat 1C, Keanu said. "Just like it says." Eleanor gave a tight smile. "I'm sure you understand. It's just that, well, some people might feel uncomfortable." 2 rows back, someone quietly pressed a record on their phone. Keanu looked at Micah, who was staring down at his shoes. Then he looked at Eleanor. He didn't yell. He didn't glare. He just said calmly, "I don't know what about me makes you uncomfortable, ma'am. But I can tell you, this is my seat, and this boy deserves kindness, not suspicion." Eleanor opened her mouth like she was going to answer, but Keanu gently turned to Micah and offered him a mint from his pocket. Micah took it and gave a tiny smile, his first one. Behind them, the phone kept recording everything. The plane got noisier as more people boarded. Coats rustled, bags thumped, and glasses clinked. Keanu sat quietly, hands on his lap. Micah sat beside him, playing with the zipper on his backpack. He still hadn't eaten the mint. Eleanor hadn't moved. She stood in the aisle like she was staring at something broken. She kept glancing at Keanu, then Micah, then the bags above the seats. Like she was waiting for someone else to say something. She got her wish. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," her husband Thomas groaned while struggling to lift their fancy suitcase. "Are you still here?" Keanu didn't answer. He just looked out the window. The sun was setting behind gate B12. Eleanor finally sat down, stiff and tight. She fixed her scarf like it made her better than others. Then she whispered, loud enough for others to hear, "I just don't think it's right." Thomas added, "You never know these days. They let anyone buy a first-class ticket. There used to be standards." Micah's hands froze. Across the aisle, a young Asian woman named Jasmine Tran had been watching. She was flying home from a tech conference. She turned on her phone camera and held it up secretly. She had seen it all. Mark, the flight attendant, came back. He looked tense. "Mr. Reeves, could you step into the aisle for just a moment?" Keanu raised an eyebrow. "Is there a problem?" Mark forced a smile. "Just a quick word. Standard check before takeoff." Micah looked worried. "It's all right," Keanu whispered. "Stay here." He got up calmly. Eleanor pulled her purse closer. Mark leaned in and whispered, "Are you related to the boy?" "It's causing confusion." Keanu's jaw tightened. "No. But I didn't know kindness needed a family tree." Mark blinked. "Some passengers are worried." "Let me guess who," Keanu said quietly. Mark didn't answer. He walked to the front. Keanu sat back down. Eleanor leaned over and whispered to her husband, "If something bad happens up there, don't say I didn't warn you." People heard her. Jasmine kept filming. Keanu looked at Micah and gave him a small nod. Then he whispered more to himself than anyone else, "They're not scared of what we'll do. They're scared we belong." The final boarding call played over the speakers, but the tension in row 1 was louder. Keanu sat with his hands folded. Micah swung his feet above the floor. He was too quiet. Mark came back again. This time, he brought another crew member and a security guard. The guard was tall, maybe in his 40s, with short blonde hair and a badge that said GIT. "Mr. Reeves," Mark said, trying to sound in control, "there's been a complaint. For the safety and comfort of others, we need you to leave the plane." Keanu slowly turned his head. "Why?" The guard cleared his throat. "Someone said you were sitting too close to a child." Keanu blinked. "I was given seat 1C. The boy was already there in 1A. "Still," Mark said, "other guests feel uncomfortable." "Other guests," Keanu repeated quietly, looking at Eleanor, who now pretended to be on her phone. "You mean the ones upset about seeing a black child next to someone who looks poor?" Mark stood stiff. "Sir, I must ask." "No need," Keanu said, standing up slowly. "I don't fight made-up rules." The whole plane was silent. Phones lifted into the air. Jasmine never stopped filming. Keanu reached for his bag in the overhead bin. He moved slowly and carefully. Micah stood up, too. Are you leaving?" Micah asked softly. The boy asked in a small, scared voice. Keanu looked at him, really looked. There was fear in Micah's eyes, but more than that, there was confusion. The kind that stays even after the bruises go away. Keanu bent down and looked Micah in the eyes. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said gently. "Don't let them make you think you did." Micah's bottom lip shook. Keanu lightly tapped his shoulder with a knuckle. "You're stronger than this airplane." Eleanor rolled her eyes. As Keanu stepped into the aisle, Officer Dit put a hand on his back. It wasn't rough, but it was firm. "Let's make this easy," the officer said. Keanu nodded once, then turned his head just a little and spoke loud enough for nearby people to hear. Some people buy first class to feel special. Others sit here because they are. Then he walked off the plane. 3 rows back, a businessman whispered, "Was that Keanu Reeves?" Silence. Mark looked like he had just eaten a block of ice. And right then, in the quiet between the cabin door clicking shut and a phone starting to record, something big began to change. Keanu walked into the airport calmly, the same way he had walked onto the plane. But now, something was different. He didn't stop walking. He didn't look around for support. He didn't care about the crowd watching him. He just walked toward a window far from the busy gates, where the city lights blinked behind the runway. His fingers moved quickly on his phone. He tapped a special contact. It didn't have a name, just a secret symbol. When the call connected, he said, "It's me. Pull the funding. All of it. I want our systems shut down in 24 hours. There was a pause. "Are you sure?" someone asked. "I'm done hiding," Keanu said. 20 minutes later, the internet was on fire. The first video came from Jasmine Tran. Her caption, "Keanu Reeves kicked off a plane to sit next to black child. No yelling. No trouble. Just racism." She didn't add music. No fancy effects. Just the real video. It spread fast. By the time Keanu left the airport, the clip had more than 300,000 views. Within an hour, the news broke. Breaking: Keanu Reeves is the main owner of Halo Systems, a company that powers most U.S. airline tech. CNN, CNBC, Twitter. Everyone wanted a quote, a comment, a reaction. But Keanu said nothing. Because by then, he was already back in Manhattan, on the 60th floor of a building no one knew he owned. In a quiet, fancy office, a huge screen showed flight traffic across the U.S. Red, green, yellow, safe, delayed, under review. Next to that, a money screen showed numbers. Air Dominion Holdings was down 6.3% in just 40 minutes. Theo Lin, Keanu's top helper and one of the few people he trusted, walked into the room holding 2 tablets and a buzzing phone. "They know it's you," Theo said, breathing fast. "And they're freaking out." Keanu didn't look up. "How far can we go without breaking any contracts?" he asked. "Far," Theo said, handing him a paper. "Especially after the last update. You had your lawyers add a special rule. It says no discrimination is allowed, zero tolerance." "I remember," Keanu said softly. Then, almost to himself, "They kicked me off their plane while my software was keeping it flying." Theo looked at him. "You've been quiet for a long time," she said. "Since the beginning. Since you stopped doing movies." "I didn't need attention," Keanu replied. "I needed power." A ping came from the screen. The video had passed 1 million views. A new trending tag was rising. #JusticeForMicah. Keanu finally turned from the window. His face wasn't angry. Not proud. Just steady. "They thought they kicked out a passenger," he said. "But they just grounded themselves." Then he reached for a second phone, the one he used only for big moves. The glass doors on the top floor of 181 West 42nd Street slid open with a soft whoosh. Inside, the air was cool and still. Keanu stood at the end of a long table. A screen built into the table lit up with files. Across from him sat Layla Morgan. Her arms were folded. Her face is calm, but serious. Layla used to work as a flight attendant for Air Dominion. She wore the uniform, handed out drinks, and smiled. But she also filed a report, one that disappeared. After that, she was called emotional, given fewer flights, and then fired for moral reasons. She worked at a coffee shop after that. Then she vanished from the airline world. Until now. "I know what they did to you," Keanu said. Layla didn't answer at first. She just tapped the screen. A file popped open. The title said, Passenger Behavior and Profile Risk GUID Mycans, Internal Use Only. Inside were charts. Phrases in red. Words like, Watch for urban speech. Kids of color trav miking alone. Check clothes in first class. If they don't look rich, look again. Layla's voice was calm, but sharp. That's not an accident, she said. That's the system. Keanu's jaw clenched. How many people knew? She opened another file. A training video. The trainer said, If someone doesn't look like they belong in first class, trust your gut. Act quietly. Watch them. How many knew? Keanu asked again. Layla looked at him. Everyone, she said. They just stayed quiet, or got paid to stay quiet. Keanu walked to the wall of screens. One showed the stock price of Air Dominion. It was down 11.2%. Another screen showed headlines. Keanu Reeves sparks airline review. Was this racism at 30,000 feet? Behind him, Layla kept talking. When I reported it, I wasn't asking for a lawsuit. I just wanted the rules changed. But they called me emotional. Then gave me fewer shifts. Then let me go. Keanu looked at her. How long did you keep those files? Long enough, she said, to know no one would be Micah heave me unless someone like you came knocking. They were both quiet. Keanu looked down at the paper again. How many more kids like Micah have been treated like that? Layla shrugged. How many weren't filmed? Keanu nodded slowly. Then he tapped a corner of the screen. A blank project board appeared. We'll build something better, he said. From the ground up. Layla raised an eyebrow. You're not just shutting them down? No, Keanu said. I'm replacing them. A pause. And I want you to lead cultural safety and fairness. Layla blinked. Why me? Because you saw the truth, Keanu said. And you didn't look away. Layla stared at him, looking for a trick. There wasn't one. Only purpose. I'm in, she said softly. They shook hands. And behind them, the system they both hated kept blinking red. Far away, in a quiet hangar near Newark, sunlight poured through big windows. It lit up a shiny white airplane with no name. Not yet. It looked sleek and smart, with a blue nose and high-tech landing gear. Engineers in black hoodies moved around it like dancers, whispering into tablets, checking every part carefully. At the far end stood Keanu Reeves. He wore a simple dark jacket, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on the jet. Next to him was Layla Morgan, now holding a tablet. It showed names and faces, pilots, crew, tech workers. All from groups usually left out of leadership. Most of these people, Layla said, flipping through, have been ignored for years. Passed over. Told they didn't fit the brand. Keanu looked at the plane. A new airline was coming. And it was for everyone. Keanu looked at the screen. They're the right people for this, he said. Then he looked back at the airplane. This isn't just to look good, he said. We're not trying to win points. We're trying to make people trust us. That starts with who we hire and who we listen to. Layla nodded. And what we say no to, she added. Behind them, a big digital screen lit up with the project's name. Project Halo, a new kind of flying for people. But Layla had a better name idea. It was easier to understand. New Sky Airways. It's bold, Layla had said. It sounds like we're not just fixing things, we're flying above all the problems. Keanu liked that name. Now he tapped the screen and looked at their plan. No computer systems that guess people by their faces. No seating zones where rich people go first. Everyone treated kindly. Easy ways to complain if something goes wrong. People of all kinds in charge. Fair computer systems for booking and safety. Free flying lessons for kids who don't get many chances. This looks like a big promise, Layla said, smiling. It is, Keanu said. A quiet one. Just then, Theo Lin walked in with 2 mugs of coffee. He gave one to Layla and one to Keanu. Everyone's still talking, Theo said. Jasmine's video got 12 million views last night. And the hashtags changed. Keanu raised his eyebrows. It's not justice for Micah anymore? Nope, Theo said. Now it's fly with Keanu. Keanu let out a small breath. He looked surprised but also a little tired. That's not what I wanted, he said. I know, Theo said. But it means people are watching. Layla turned her tablet toward him. Speaking of Micah, you need to see this. It was a short video. Micah was at school. Other kids were greeting him like he was famous. His name was being whispered like he was a hero. The words on the video said, "The boy beside Keanu. He's one of us. They both are." Keanu watched the video quietly. His jaw was tight. "Invite him," he said. "First test flight. He sits in the front row." Layla smiled. "That'll make the bosses at Air Dominion really mad." Keanu smirked. "Good." He looked up at the airplane. "They kicked me off a plane just because I was sitting next to a black child," he said. Then he added softly but clearly, "So now I'm building a plane where no one ever feels left out, no matter who they sit next to." 3 nights after they showed the plane to the world, Keanu walked into a quiet studio in New York City. He came alone. No team. No fancy helpers. Just him, wearing a nice navy shirt with rolled-up sleeves. Across from him sat Nora Vega, a smart and serious reporter who was known for asking hard questions. But when Keanu walked in, she stood up and smiled kindly. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I'm not here for me," Keanu said. "I'm here for the kid." A red light turned on. "We're living in 5, someone said. When the countdown ended, Nora leaned forward. "Mr. Reeves," she said. "Millions saw the video. You were taken off a plane quietly, just for sitting next to a young black boy. That moment made people all over the world start talking. But you haven't said anything about it until now." Keanu looked at her. His voice was strong. "They didn't just take me off the plane," he said. "They removed the idea that someone like Micah belongs in first class. And they did it while pretending it was about rules." Nora waited for him to go on. "For years," Keanu said, "I've helped behind the scenes. I've given money to help make planes safer. I didn't want credit. I just wanted to help. But that day, when they took me off not for what I did, but for who I sat beside, something changed." Nora nodded. "You were quiet after it happened," she said. "Some people think you're trying to get back at them. Others think you're starting a movement." Keanu gave a small smile. "They called me dangerous and a problem. But only because I didn't act how they wanted. I didn't shout. I didn't fight. I just sat there and looked at them. And they didn't know what to do." He leaned closer. His voice was softer now, but still strong. "This isn't about revenge. It's about dreaming something new. I didn't want a seat back on their plane. I wanted to make one where no one could be taken off." Nora looked touched. "And that's what New Sky Airways is?" Keanu nodded. "It's a promise," he said. "No unfair computer programs. No rich-only seating. No judging people. Just kindness in the sky." A picture of Micah appeared on the screen beside them. The room was very quiet. Nora's voice softened. Do you think they didn't see who you really were? Keanu didn't speak right away. Then he said, I think they saw a man who looked tired, not dressed up, not fitting in. But really, I was in the exact right seat. Because sometimes, the best way to show what's wrong is to sit quietly where they think you don't belong. The screen turned black. And in that quiet, something powerful began. Not the kind of shaking that moves metal, but the kind that shakes big, unfair systems. Air Dominion's big fancy office looked strong on the outside. But now, every window and shiny wall felt like a mirror showing their mistakes. Their stock price dropped 32% in 5 days. Their phones were full of people calling to cancel flights. And now, a group of lawyers was writing a big complaint against them. Eleanor Blackwell's name was in the news again, but not for good reasons. She was known for helping charities and for her husband's campaign. But last night, a short sound clip came out. You never know with those people, she said. That child could have been a setup. Her voice. Her words. No one could fix it now. Meanwhile, in a small home in Brooklyn, Micah was watching everything. His adoptive mom, Tamara Jones, had tears in her eyes. She looked at her phone and saw hundreds of messages. People were offering help, giving scholarships, and sending kind words. One message title said, Your son matters. On the table was a shiny black envelope with silver writing. Inside was one special plane ticket. Passenger, Micah Jones. Flight, NS1. From JFK to LAX. Seat, 1A. Honorary first passenger. New Sky Airways was ready to fly, with Micah in the front seat. At the airport, Keanu stood next to the big, beautiful airplane. The name New Sky was painted in bright blue letters. Underneath, it said, Everyone deserves a seat. Theo Lin walked up with a tablet. We just filled up all the sign-ups in 4 hours, he said. News people are begging to talk to you. Keanu didn't look up much. Let them wait, he said. Layla Morgan walked up to him. She looked serious. Air Dominion's secret emails got out. They knew what was happening. They knew about the unfair rules, the way they ignored people's complaints, the secret money they paid to stay quiet. It's worse than we thought. Keanu nodded. Good. Let it all come out. Then he looked across the runway. A small black SUV had stopped nearby. A boy named Micah got out. He wore a navy blue jacket and held his mom's hand. His eyes were big with wonder. He saw the airplane. He saw the crowd. He saw the cameras. Then he saw Keanu. Keanu lifted his hand, not like a famous person saying hello, but more like saying, I see you. Micah smiled and waved back, braver now. Are you still sure about this? Layla asked. Keanu didn't wait to answer. They tried to make him disappear, just like they did to so many others. He watched Micah walk toward the plane's stairs. But now, his name will go farther than theirs ever did. A few hours later, that picture was everywhere. Micah, a black child, climbing the steps of a plane made for fairness and justice. Keanu Reeves walked beside him, not as a star, not as a hero, but as someone who once lost his seat and decided to build something new. A place where no one could be left out again. And big letters on all the news said, Flight NS1 takes off, a new era begins. 5 years later, the airport was filled with soft music, people walking, and the sound of flights getting ready to leave. But at Gate 12, something special was happening. A quiet faymaking, like something really important. A small girl, maybe 7 years old, held her mother's hand tightly as they walked. Her pink backpack bounced as she walked. She stopped suddenly and pointed at a screen. Her voice was happy and loud. Mom, the pilot looks like Grandpa. Her mom looked where she pointed. On the screen was a photo of the flight crew of New Sky Airways Flight 801. In the middle was Captain Mateo. He was a middle-aged Latino man with gray in his hair and a strong, kind smile. Her mother smiled, her voice a little soft with emotion. "Yes, sweetheart. That's one of the best things about New Sky." They walked toward the gate. A kind flight attendant bent down to talk to the girl. "First time flying with us?" she asked nicely. The girl nodded excitedly. "I want to be a pilot when I grow up." The flight attendant smiled big. "Well, we have a program just for you, future flyers. It starts right after your trip." Behind them, a quiet man stood by the big window. He wore a hoodie and a baseball cap. His coffee cup steamed in his hand. A few silver hairs peeked from under his cap. He watched the little girl happily walk toward the plane. It was Keanu Reeves. He didn't talk. He was never in the ads. He didn't give a speech when New Sky opened. But he was always there, at airports, in hangars, in small schools, watching the dream he built grow on its own. It was working. Inside the cockpit of Flight 81, Micah Jones, now 17, adjusted his co-pilot headset. His navy blue uniform had a shiny badge, Future Flyers, Class 1. Next to him, Captain Mateo smiled and gave him a friendly pat. "You've got this, kid." Micah grinned. "I was born for it." As the plane rolled forward, Micah looked at the seating list. Row 1A was blank. It was saved. He knew who it was for. Back at the terminal, Keanu turned away from the window just as the plane took off. The golden light caught its wings, glowing like a memory. His phone buzzed. Messages from Marion, from Layla, from the scholarship board. One from another transit system asking for help. Another from a new country asking if New Sky could come there. Keanu didn't read any of them. Instead, he opened his notes app and typed, "They threw me off their plane. So I built one they couldn't break. And I made sure it had room for everyone." He hit save and locked the screen. Far above, in a sky that was extra clear, Flight 81 flew strong and proud. In the cockpit sat a boy once told he didn't belong. Now, in his strong hands, was a future no one could take from him. And somewhere in the quiet between stars and engines, a voice seemed to whisper, not angry, not loud, but peaceful. "Everyone deserves a seat." What began in silence became a big, gentle movement, not through shouting, but through kindness, through good design, and through never giving up. Keanu Reeves didn't just take back his seat. He changed what it means to fly. He showed the world who gets to be in charge. Who gets to belong. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's built. Sometimes it's handed down, like wings, from one person's pain to another person's dreams. If you liked this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.